Welcome to our channel, ladies and gentlemen. These are the times when every Kenyan wishes that he or she was a lawyer, because we are dealing with weighty matters that are constitutional, are legal, and are political. For non-lawyers like me, we have grabbed our copies of the Constitution, both hard copy and soft copy. Two things have come up. Indeed, we are in a constitutional crisis, or we are at the border of being at a constitutional crisis. The person who is at the center of everything are the three arms of the government: the executive, legislature, and the judiciary. Now, the legislative arm of the government did their part. They debated and ended up impeaching Rigathi Gachagua. Rigathi Gachagua went to the judiciary because the judiciary had said earlier, we are not going to interfere with the process that is happening at the two houses, National Assembly and the Senate. And even though Rigathi Gachagua went there initially to stop his impeachment at the National Assembly, the court refused. They told him, you go and complete the process. If you are dissatisfied, you have the leeway, you've got the privilege of coming back here, or the right. Rigathi went again during the process at the Senate. The court said, no, as we have told you, let us exercise separation of powers. And they let the Senate did their job. Now, Rigathi Gachagua has gone back to court and is saying, I am a dissatisfied Kenyan, please help me. And the court stopped any appointment of Rigathi's replacement and or swearing in. The executive arm of the government wants to bully its way. We have seen people around William Samoei Ruto, people like Moses Kuria, saying we have to swear in our new deputy president. And they want to play around with us that when a court order, when that conservatory order was given, that it was taken by event because the appointment had already been done. But it is clear that any such injunctions or such orders, conservative orders, bind what has happened, what is happening, and what will happen. And those who have watched many bloggers and political analysts, we have played that video of Charles Kanjama, courtesy of NTV, explaining it very explicitly. Now, we stand at a point where we need honest men and women who can look at the king and tell him, you are naked. The problem that we have is that such men are very few. People like lawyer Ahmed Nasir, in fact, renowned lawyers, and you will realize that sometimes this is where we go wrong and this is how we lose as a country. Lawyers do not want to stand for the truth because tribalism has gotten into the hearts of our professionals. People like Ahmed Nasir was, telling William Ruto that the swearing in was not stopped. What was stopped was appointment. One person who has decided that I'm going to look at the king and tell him, King, you've not adorned your Sunday best. You are actually naked, is none other than Nelson Havi. Nelson Havi is a former president of the Law Society of Kenya. In law or lawyers, there is something called reputation. Building a reputation can take you years, but damaging that reputation takes a moment. Nelson Havi is one person who had said that if the impeachment takes place in parliament, the courts will do nothing about it if the process is clean. I agree. Now, let us look at what Nelson Havi is saying, because he's actually kind of warning the president. One of the very respected lawyers that we have is Tom Ojienda. Now, lawyer Tom Ojienda, who is the senator of Kisumu County, said this, just a repetitive of what others were around Ruto are saying, that the order is overtaken by events coming after the proper nomination and appointment of His Excellency Professor Kithure Kindiki. And you can see the choice of words at coming after the proper nomination and appointment of His Excellency, Professor Kithure Kindiki. Just like Ahmed Nasir Tom Ojeda is one person who is respected in the field of law, but he's messing up. We are sucked up to the executive so much that no one wants to look at Ruto and tell him, man, you are wrong. The country is bigger than an individual. This is what they keep on telling William Ruto. Now look at what Nelson Havi is saying. Nelson Havi is saying this: the court order must be obeyed. It is not a suggestion. That is what every truthful, look at that, every truthful advocate, including those of us who support President William Ruto, must tell him and the people of Kenya. Do not mislead anyone, Prof. You know, I forgot to give the correct name. Is Professor Tom Ojeda, a professor, telling William Ruto that he should go ahead and swear in Kithure Kindiki despite a court order. And Nelson Havi, a man who had earlier, he had earlier given a position, he was supporting William Ruto. And even here, he's saying, including those of us who are supporting William Ruto. But on this, we have to obey the Constitution. It is not a suggestion. We have to. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, sometimes it takes courage. There's a big difference between having academic acquisition that you get from the lecture houses. What we need here is wisdom. We need someone who has got all the academic credentials, but also contain the natural prowess of wisdom. Because someone is hell-bent in placing this country into a constitutional crisis. I've been wondering, and I don't know, if William Ruto knows very well and is sure that both the National Assembly and the Senate did their job rightfully, following the very process that is supposed to be followed. Why is there a hurry? What is the fear? Why should they hurry in swearing in Kithure Kindiki? Let me tell you something else that Nelson Havi is saying. He has taken note of the very barrage of criticism and insults that have been held on the judiciary. And he didn't take it kindly. He's been part of the judiciary, was the president of the Law Society of Kenya. This is what he's saying. Why are these people insulting judges? Do they know that a president or a deputy cannot assume office before being sworn in by the CRJ in the presence of the CJ? They forget that Chief Justice Maraga told them that they can call for a referendum and abolish the judiciary if they do not need it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is what Nelson Havi is saying about the insults that the disappointed Kenyans are heaping on the judiciary. And he's telling them, reminding them of what Maraga said, there are three arms of the government. If you don't need one, you can call for a referendum, ask Kenyans. If they don't need it, then we abolish it, rather than heaping blame game and insults on the judiciary. Judiciary is an arm of the government, given the very powers that other arms of the government have been given, depending on their duties, but the source is one, the people of Kenya. And I know William Ruto will be disappointed, because such times William Ruto needs people like Tom Ojeda, people like Professor Tom Ojeda, let me name him correctly, people like Ahmed Nasir Abdullahi, renowned lawyers with great academic prowess, but leaking bootlickers. Sometimes I have to say this: we need to respect our constitution so that it can stand the test of time. The same way Gachagua is told that a country is bigger than an individual, William Ruto must also understand that a country is bigger than an individual. Let us wait. The courts might decide to kick Rigathi out, and then they swear in Kithure Kindiki. But in the event that they retain Rigathi Gachagua, life moves on. Kithure will be told the same, that there comes a time when a nation is bigger than individual. You can see what we have been warning about. This is not the circus and drama that we saw in Parliament. We now deal with the facts. We deal with the law and the provisions of our constitution. The warning that Nelson Havi has given to William Ruto, and telling William Ruto that we must obey the constitution. There are no two options about it. It is a must. It is not a suggestion. It's the same warning that Rarieda MP Otiende Amolo gave to Parliament. And he told them, if we rush, we are going to face it in the courts of justice. Let's watch this space.